Hi, my name's Patrick. I'm the bird whisperer here at Kellyville Pets. I specialise in chickens, bird breeding and bird behaviour, and today I'm going to be running you through how to set up a breeding cabinet for a pair of budgies. Now, when selecting a cabinet, there's a number of budgie breeding cabinets around on the market, and a lot of them have the nesting box located in different places. The one that we'll 9 out of 10 times recommend is one with a drawer location just here. What that drawer allows you to do is access the nest without disturbing the babies too much. A lot of your cabinets come with the nests on the inside. You have to put your hand in there to get them, and when you're putting your hand in and out of the nest too much, that can often stress the birds out to the point that they won't breed. So having a drawer nest is best, but there are others available if you're unable to find one. So what we recommend, the first thing is VetaFarms AbiCare. This product here is a hospital grade disinfectant, but it's entirely safe for your birds to ingest. So any cleaning of cages at home, but particularly nests, should be done with AbiCare. So you just want to spray the box out, give it a really good wipe down, and then move on to the next step. And the next step is using another VetaFarm product. This one's called Avian Insect Liquidator. This is basically like Mortein that's safe for your birds. And the reason we want to use this is the nesting material that we're going to be using for budgies is very humid, it's very damp. And when budgies are spending a lot of time in that nest, what's going to happen is it's going to build up a lot of moisture, there's going to be a lot of bacteria in there, and it's going to attract insects like you wouldn't believe. And insects are the kiss of death for young birds sitting on eggs. So Avian Insect Liquidator, you just give the nest a quick spray out after your AbiCare. What that's going to do is protect the nest for up to 6 weeks, stop any insects getting there and harming your breeding pair. So after that, you want to move on to your nesting material. Now, like I already mentioned, it's quite a damp mix, and what this one here is, it's a mix of wood shavings and peat moss with a little bit of water added to it just to get it to hold its moisture. Now, you want to add that to the inside of your nest. For a 500 gram bag, we'll normally recommend using about half of the bag. What that's going to do is create a 3 centimetre layer of nesting material on the bottom, and the reason we want that much is it's supportive for the babies when they're born. If you don't have enough nesting material in there, what you may find is the babies end up with something called splayed leg syndrome. Basically, their legs will grow out sideways because they were being sat on a very hard surface, so this will help alleviate that problem. After that, you want to set up your food and water. When you're setting up your dishes, you always want to keep in mind, you want to be able to access the box without engaging too much with the birds. So a water dispenser that you can mount from the outside of the cabinet is best. That way, when you go to change the water, you don't have to put your hand inside and potentially stress them out. Also means that being a dispenser, the birds aren't going to spoil the water every day, so you may not need to change and disturb them every day. Still always check your water every day, but you may not need to change it consistently. You'll also want to put a little flat bowl on the bottom of the breeding cabinet. That's basically just so it's easy for your parents to access. Also, when the babies are born, they're going to jump out of that nest. They won't be too good at flying, so you want your food to be somewhere that they can get to nice and easily. So now we're going to talk about supplementation. Supplementation is extremely important. A question we get a lot here in the shop is, I've had my birds set up to breed for years, nothing's ever happened. First thing we'll always do is ask the person about what they're feeding their bird. And more often than not in that situation, what they're feeding them is just a standard seed mix. Now, a standard seed mix is fine, but it really only contains fat and carbohydrates, and your birds are going to need a lot more than that to not only produce eggs, but also when the babies are born to help rear them correctly. So you can use a standard seed mix, but what we recommend doing is adding a bit of VetaFarms breeding aid to it. Now what this is a seed-soluble formula made up mostly of omega oils and fatty acids, and what this will do is it will basically turn your standard cheap seed into a budgie breeding superfood. Now the way you use this is you basically want to mix 20 mils of this product with a kilo of seed, mix it by hand, leave it for 24 hours, allow it to soak into the core of the seed, and there you go, you've got a superfood. Now if you're worried about making up a kilo of food at a time, don't worry, any excess you can pop in the freezer and you can take it out and thaw it and use it as you need. Just keep in mind, once it's been thawed, it does need to be used within 3 to 4 days. The other important product is Calcivet. Now this is a water-soluble solution, and this is one we add to their drinking water. Calcium is probably the most important thing to supply to your breeding birds. Reason for it is it helps with their muscle development. Now when your female is producing eggs, not only is the egg itself going to take a lot of calcium out of her system, but she also needs nice strong vent muscles to be properly able to push that egg out. If she's not supplied with enough calcium, what you may find is she's going to become egg bound, and then you're in serious trouble. So Calcivet will alleviate that problem for you. Always good when your babies are born as well to be drinking lots of calcium, helps their bones develop a little bit faster, and helps prevent issues like splayed leg syndrome, which I mentioned earlier. Now there's one more product I'm going to talk to you about here. and that is Vetafarm's Finch and Budgie Crumble. Now what this is a formulated complete diet for budgies. So whereas seed only contains fat and carbohydrates, this literally contains everything they need. Now, while I wouldn't recommend doing this, if you were to feed budgies nothing but Finch and Budgie Crumble for the rest of their life, they would actually be 100% healthy. They'd just be really bored. So you want to supply this to them. You can mix it through their seed if you like. You can mix a bit of hot water with it to turn it into a bit of a porridge if you think your birds will find it more palatable that way. But it's very important to supply this to the birds from the moment you pop them into the nesting box, and particularly when they're feeding their babies, because they get a lot of nutrition out of this product, easily digestible, so they can very quickly pass that on to the young that they're feeding. And that's about all you need to know. Other than that, once you're all set up, you need to pop your birds in, and then after that, you just need to leave them alone. Like I've mentioned a few times, try as much as possible to leave the cabinet alone, don't move them around too much. If you stress the birds out, there's a very good chance that they may not breed. So once everything's set up, just leave them to do the rest. So now that you've seen how easy it is to set up your very own budgie breeding cabinet, let me show you some budgies that have been living in one for a while.